Let's take a look at the gameplay front. The previous Witcher games had a reputation of being somewhat of a giant of PC gaming in more than one sense. They were considered to be extremely intricate RPGs, but highly inaccessible because of unintuitive menus, difficult quests, complicated crafting and clunky movement. You can tell that this time around CDPR went out of their way to streamline the gameplay, and while I'm sure that thanks to that many more people can now actually get into the game, I do not welcome many of these changes. And no, that's not because I'm an elitist prick who can't get off unless he sees people in the Steam forums crying that they don't know how to equip mutagens. No, it's because due to the streamlining there is less reason to use many of the given functions now, and in a game as huge as this, the motivation suffers when the gameplay lacks variety. Who, for example, thought it was a good idea to have all your crafted potions completely refill themselves with one bottle of alcohol? Why on earth is there such a density of harvestable plants and I'm already sitting on 80 stocks of celandine when I only need 4 to craft a potion once and then it refills itself indefinitely without those ingredients?
What?
Oh, but the lackluster crafting is only the start of my worries. Anyone who has played The Witcher 2 knows that its combat was, well, kinda shit. I mean, I love that game and all, but all you really ever did was click your brains out, then dodge. Click, 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 dodge. Click, 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 cast a sign, dodge. Did the issue get fixed in Witcher 3? No, of course not. It's still the same uninteresting nonsense. No strategy, no depth. Once again, you can't even pick what specific attack Geralt will do, except tell him to do a light one or a heavy one. Except this time it's open world, and thus a series that previously at least had interestingly structured encounters now has had all its enemy designs toned down and streamlined because they need to be able to happen anywhere on the game world. Say about the Chiron fight from The Witcher 2 what you will. Yeah, it was annoying when you got one-shotted because the dodge roll doesn't work properly. Yeah, the occasional quick time event was pretty dumb, but at least it was memorable and something unique happened in it. Trapping the tentacles with Irden, attacking them off, the different phases, all those distinguished this boss fight from others. In the Wild Hunt, every boss plays almost exactly the same. They come at you with a melee attack and sometimes they'll use a ranged attack or buff themselves, and if one of the developers felt adventurous, some ads will spawn at some point. Well, I'm certainly on the edge of my seat right now. Of course, what hasn't changed is that Geralt still is a clunky fuck and responds to movement commands with a reaction time of an 80-year-old. There is a full second delay between pressing forward and Geralt actually taking on a sprint, and by god, have you ever went off track while riding and tried making a U-turn to get back on the road? Welcome to hell. Oh, and the quests. You might have noticed that previously I actually praised the quests for being numerous and of generally high quality. Well, yes they are, and I stand by that, especially for an open world game, but the streamlining takes its toll again. Gone are the times where The Witcher 2 would require you to read up on enemies and find locations by yourself and... quest markers, my old nemesis. Seriously, to hell with quest markers. I remember saying in my Styx Master of Shadows review I'm willing to accept that yes, maybe a game today needs objective markers so that even a more casual audience can pick it up and understand what it's supposed to do. And it seems The Witcher 3 certainly took that advice to heart, but let me spill out a very important difference to you. Even with objective markers in Styx that showed you where you needed to be eventually, you still have to make your way there on your own. In The Witcher 3 there is for most quests only one path you can take and only one specifically marked goal at a time, and in a game that has you do nothing but questing for hundreds of hours, the quests can have the greatest writing in the history of the medium. This is eventually going to become incredibly dull. Oh, for the Wild Hunt's credit, it took me a while to get to that point. There's just too much content here with genuinely interesting characters and beautiful areas, but it'll come, trust me, and it's very hard to keep interested when I can solve quests just as well by following lines on my minimap and reading a few sentences on my screen as if I'm playing some overly complicated version of Connect the Dots. So does this really warrant a 9.3 out of 10 IGN? All in all, it might seem like I'm being extremely negative about The Witcher 3, so I want one thing to be perfectly clear before any fanboys arrive on my YouTube page and try to shove their comments down my throat. The Witcher 3 is a good game. CD Projekt Red is a good developer. And I'll double down on that and say that the patch support CDPR has shown so far is phenomenal and they absolutely deserve to be supported. But The Witcher 3 is also one more thing. Overrated. The combat isn't terrible, it's mediocre. The gameplay keeps you semi-interested, but it lacks teeth and depth. The side quests are good, the main quest is not. If it wasn't for the mind-shattering amount of content and the beautiful game world, this would be a decent game, but nothing more. As it stands, it's a remarkable game, but with deep flaws that don't destroy but still hurt the overall enjoyment. Still, do I recommend this game? Yes, I sincerely do. If you like Western RPGs, there is no way around The Witcher 3, because it's gonna be a while until you will receive anything as ambitious as this. But I personally will go on record saying that I would have preferred a game similar to The Witcher 2 over this. Not that The Witcher 2 didn't have its own boatload of problems, of course, but aside from the beautiful scenery, I do not see the gain in letting this series go open world. Sure, the Wild Hunt provides many fun side quests with tons of great characters, but The Witcher 2 also managed exactly that, while having a more structured and functional difficulty curve and a way more enticing main plot that all the side activities played right into. All in all, I feel like a chance has been missed. While I appreciate CDPR trying something new with the series, The Witcher 3, just like the previous games, ends up being great in many ways and highly flawed in many others. One can only speculate, of course, but I would have liked seeing the result of The Witcher 3 being more linear like its predecessors and spending its resources on polishing and fixing what was already there instead. BoukenJima, signing out.